Hi guys, we're going to do a solution to the filter out strings coding challenge. And I'm going to call this function filter list because the function is going to accept a list and output only the components of that list that are not strings. Okay, so we can assume that we're only going to be working with lists that contain both integers and strings. That's one of our conditions. And this is a useful thing to be able to do, especially looking ahead to cases where we may want to work with data sets, maybe web derived data sets that don't really have all the information in a tidy, organized fashion. If we're going to be doing some kind of analytics, we usually want to get rid of anything that is non-numerical. So this could happen. You can imagine some scenarios where you might need to do this, and whether or not you use this exactly or modify it in some way, it's a useful exercise to go through. All right. So we're going to start off with a function, as we always do. We're going to call it filter list, as we can see in the examples. And I want to notice the type of argument that I have. So don't be tricked by the multiple commas and think that we have four parameters. We actually just have one parameter, and that is a list. So I like to use descriptive terms for the parameter names. I'm going to call that LST. That's not a one, that's an L. Okay, and as we often do, we usually go through a solution that involves techniques that we have worked with before. You may find something more sophisticated or streamlined on the web, and that's fine too. But what I'm going to go ahead and do is create an empty list, and I'll just call it nums because I want to collect only the numbers. Okay, so that's going to be the place that I'll use for collecting only the characters in the list that are numerical. So then you want to think about, how can we check if something is numerical? Well, we know that we're just going to be dealing with integers and strings. So if the only data type I want to include in the new list is integers, I can check according to data type. So I could write a conditional, but first I'm going to need to do a loop, right? Because I need to check every value in the input list. So I will do for I in LST, that's our input. And just so we don't get lost, let's just do print I to make sure we're actually accessing all of those characters. Yeah, so I am getting them. I get the nuns because I don't have a return statement. So we're able to access all of the values in the input list. I have multiple tests running here, so that's what we're seeing. Okay, so that's working. Now let's do our conditional. So if didn't I say something about the type? So let's do if the type of I, and we know I is each character in the list, each element in the list, equal, we need two equals to check for equality. And we can just type out the int data type. If type I equals int, let's just do print I to make sure. Now we should just be getting 1 and the 2, the 1, 0, 1, 5, and so on. So that is working. Okay, now we are getting only the numerical values in the list, only the integers. So now we're in a position to do something beyond just printing those. And this is where we want to think about collecting those items in our new list. And we've been working a lot with different ways of adding items to a list. We have append and extend. In this case, definitely append is going to make more sense because that is the one that will add a single item at a time and will not break down the object that is being added into its components. So I would do nums dot append I. So I is only going to be appended if it meets the condition above. Okay, so I still get a none because I don't have a return statement. I want to make sure I have the right indentation. I have several levels of indentation here, one for the for loop and then one for the conditional. And what are we asked to do? We're asked to return the list containing only the integers. So I will return nums, and that should work. Okay, so now I have the return statement. I don't get the none anymore, and I seem to be getting the expected output. So this solution is then ready to go. So hopefully that helped. I hope you're able to give it a try and put some of the pieces together, and that this fills in the gaps. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.